Hey everybody, this is Larry. This is Biweekly Contest 24th or 24 on Leetcode. We have about 40 seconds left. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's having a good day, good night, wherever you are watching. Um, yeah, if you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe button, whatever button you want to leave a comment if you did this contest. How did you do? Um, yeah, and stay tuned. There'll be commentary and there'll be descriptions and at the end I'll even go over the prompts. So there'll be links below to kind of skip toward those different portions. And wish me luck, of course. I have about 8 seconds. So whew, breathe out. Here we go. But not really. Eh, I forgot to register, so I had to
I forgot to
register, but there
register.
was some lag time, so I was a little bit sad. Already 10 seconds comes up the clock,
Yeah, that's
which
embarrassing.
for this contest is kind of feels like eternity. And it's still, and
And now
this
it is loading.
page has some trouble loading. So that's been a little bit of a frustrating contest. But it's my fault for not registering, so it is what it is. So I'm about 30 seconds, 40 seconds behind at this point, which is
And here
unfortunate.
we actually go.
Obviously,
That's
okay. Minimum
people might
value to
already
get
seen
positive
it.
step-by-step sum. So this problem, yeah, I mean it's a very straightforward problem. So what I had issues with was just reading comprehension. I was just really bad at reading on this one. And I'm already a minute in. Usually I'm already halfway done, but when you're 40 seconds behind, like it is what it is. And yeah, but here, so I thought that you start at index X and then you kind of go to see whether you go bigger than 0 or whatever it is. But no, instead it's the starting number. So yeah, so I kind of took a look at that one as well. And I looked at the constraints. I was like, so what I'm second guessing here, if you kind of see me, is trying to figure out whether I could do brute force or not. So I was like, okay, 100 times 100, that's 10,000. We could brute force it. And I just increased the bound to some crazy number that it would never reach because up to 100,000, or sorry, up to 10,000, it would terminate. And it's 10,000 times 100, so it's about a million. So like, it'll be good enough. So that's kind of what I did. That's what I have here. A little bit slow, to be honest, because I was just checking on some of the constants. I still got the constant wrong here, if you kind of notice. But yeah, little tired, little. Yeah, and I looked at the results. I was like, oh, this is off by one. Why is that? So just a lot of reading comprehension issues because you had to actually be greater than one. For some reason, so yeah. Oh no, well, it has to be 0 or greater. So I had, um, yeah, like a classic issue. So 0 is not good enough. So I was like, okay. And then I click and then I submit. And then here we go, Q1. So Q2, find the minimum number of Fibonacci numbers whose sum is K. So this one I knew how to do immediately. I looked at K is 10 to 9, but that's not a big deal. Because so the thing about Fibonacci is that Fibonacci numbers forms a basis. So I actually knew this while solving this. Something that which makes the algorithm kind of greedy, or it is greedy because of math. And it's a little bit of an unfair advantage for me in the sense that I knew that this was correct because Fibonacci numbers, and I'll talk about it later in the explanation portion. But it basically forms unique. You could uniquely determine a number minimally with Fibonacci's. So as a sum of Fibonacci's numbers, which is what a basis was I was alluding to with basis, and yeah, so that's kind of what I did. I just end up using greedy as a result, and that's something that like is one of those things where if you didn't know all that stuff, you would have to prove it. And if you have to prove it, then you might have spent a lot of time proving it. So it's kind of a little bit of a weird problem as a result. But yeah. I just wanted to test 10 to the 9 for a quick second. Though it seems like it keeps on costing me a lot of time. But yeah, I was like, okay, that one's in fast enough, so let's submit and hope it's good. And it is good. Cave logic, lexicographical strings of all happy strings of length n. So this one, I thought it was going to be really hard, just looking at it initially. But the thing that I noticed as I scroll down is that k is 100. I was like, huh? Only 100? That seems really low, and it is really low. And I actually don't understand why it's only 100, but that makes this problem way too easy in a way. Do I end up still spending 5 minutes because, well, actually, it's just because the server was a little bit slow, at least all 5 minutes. I probably could have done it a little bit faster. Um, yeah, I was just not, I just wanted to double check the constraints. I was like, huh, okay, I guess it is what it is. So let's go. And the idea here is just exhaustive search slash backtracking, because with k is equal to 100, you only need to count the first k, right? Or k plus 1 if you want to count. But that's basically what I'm doing here. I just want to double check because I just felt like that seems too easy, but I also was debating a little bit of how to think about how to do it. But yeah, and I check. I was worried a little bit about complexity, but I keep on thinking like k is 100. You could do things really dumb and it'll be okay. And I was also debating whether x should be a string or like a base 3 number that I convert to string. But I end up doing this, and I'm like, okay, let's just append a string, and that's pretty much it. And I do have a for loop from 0 to 3, which is from A, B, and C, or A, B, and C total. And I was like, okay, do I keep track of like, do I do some math checking about the last character? And I was like, okay, that actually would not have been so hard. I was just like, and then I have to check whether like the input length is 0, and then I have to do that. So I was like, okay, actually, let's just let's just put the last character in, and this is an implicit type, is an input, but that input is implicit or explicit of something that's on input, so it doesn't actually affect complexity, though it affects the running time slightly. You know, you put a little bit more extra on the stack, and then I just use a string concat. I mean, this is a very expensive operation actually, relatively speaking. But like I said, k is 100. You could get away with a lot of things, and that's pretty much it. This is the entire code, pretty much. The only thing that I had to do was just double check that this is bigger than k, and I chose a bound that didn't even really need it. Um, but yeah, so I ran it. Just was so long. So I have this code at about 7 minutes and 50 seconds. I end up submitting it at 9 minutes and 44 seconds. I do have a typo that I needed to fix, but everything else is running time. So the server testing time. So 2 minutes of server testing time. I think I needed to yeah, because then this is just a really quick if statement. So probably could have done that a little faster. But I think I spent like about 5 minutes just waiting on today's server. So that's not great. They need to upgrade the server. And hopefully for the next contest, they will upgrade the server because there'll be even more contestants. Um, or they could have slightly harder problems, I suppose. But uh, yeah, and I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then here I look up, I look down, I was like, okay, let's submit. I yeah, cool. We saw the way. So this one, I end up spending about 6 minutes. 6 minutes. I really should have done this faster, to be honest. But I mean, some of that is the testing, and I have a wrong answer. So, but this was very much of give me. I've done this a million times. I really should have done this better. I no do this. But that said, some of that is that, to be honest, I was just a little bit rusty. If that makes any sense. I know that I've been doing a lot of Leetcode, so I shouldn't be that rusty. But very lately, Leetcode dynamic programming problems have I've just been able to do memorization. Uh, and you can memorize everything. But in this case, n is equals to 100,000. So I was like, okay, that's really cutting it close, and it's going to be 100,000 times 10. So I was like, okay, maybe I should really write this bottom up, which I know how to do, and I do it in 6 minutes or so, 6 minutes and change. Though I did do it incorrectly, but that maybe that's unrelated. But this is just photos. I really need to do this a little bit faster as a result. Um, but I think I was just also very careful. I was definitely a little bit deliberate of not doing off by ones. It's something that I was very mindful of because there's a lot of potential to have off by one. And as you kind of see later, I do make the kind of silly mistakes that someone would not make if they were a little bit more practiced, including an off by one in the dimension array, which usually is not a big deal because you click on the one test button, one code button or one test button, and it tells you within seconds that you had an off by one because you go out of bounds. But today's is a little bit of a special case where the one test took a really long time, so that was really unfortunate as a result. And here I'm just double checking whether I needed or how to get the number of digits. I was just like, oh, let's just do it this way. And there was a typo here too, which also added like another 30 seconds of just waiting for the test to be done. And that was very frustrating, to be honest. And I showed it a little bit, even though usually I don't show my frustration, because I was just like, oh, because and this particularly, in this contest, I was like, everyone's going to finish. And like seeing this problem and knowing that it's relatively easy, everyone's going to, or like all the top people is going to finish it really quickly. So I was like, every second counts. And it kind of held true. If I had finished, even without just like as fast as I did, but without the wrong answer, I would have been 18th or 19th. But with the wrong answer, meaning the 5 minutes between 16 minutes and 21st minute that I finished, I went from 18th or 19th to 38th, right? So I knew that every minute and every second count in the beginning, because this is a relatively straightforward one. I mean, I don't know if it's easy per se, but it's very well studied because it's very wrong. But yeah, but here I was typing a little bit on the slower side as well because I was just thinking through if I had off by ones. I just int it. Yeah, and then I just checked that it is this time. I remember that has to be greater than one. But I do have an issue here, which was not caught by the. And this is it. This is the code. I mean, it took me maybe a little bit less, like 3 minutes to write to this point. But I took another 3 minutes on this, even though the code is essentially done. You could kind of see my frustration a little bit. And I was a little bit tired in general, but that depending test is taking so long. I but it is what it is. And yeah, just a lot of. I probably could have just double checked the code as well. Oh yeah, this is the first one where int is no name, so I was like, oh yeah, of course this is a thing, and I was like trying to figure out how to do it, but I probably should also. So what I should be doing now is double checking the problem statement and the code. But I think some of it is that I was too confident in my code and too. I don't know, maybe a little bit tired, so I wasn't grinding it as much as I should. But here you could just see me like wasting my time when I could have been doing anything. I see the one-time error, like, wait, what? Index our range, and I knew immediately that this is just the n plus one, and that should solve it. So I wasted already about a minute and a half on these two silliness, which need to be better on. Maybe even more. Maybe my time is a little off, but yeah, and okay. So I was like confident I submit, but it was wrong, which is unfortunate. Um, like wrong answer. I was like, huh, this code is really straightforward. How can it be wrong? So I looked at it again. It was like, oh, read the problem again. I took care of. I was like, huh, what is there? Um, but yeah, but I think that was a little bit weird. Like, and then I wanted to print out the array just so that I could check. Um, I was like 6, 8. I didn't even get through that deep, to be honest. Then just print the array. That's run the code, and then I read it everything again while I was running. So this time I did the right thing of, and I was like, oh, leading 0. And I was like, okay, there actually is a leading 0. So I just have to check it. And I thought a little bit about how to check it. And I was like, if just one leading 0, that's bad enough. And if the first digit is not leading 0, then it doesn't matter. Or like if it's not 0, then it doesn't have a leading 0. So I just checked that. First digit is not a 0. I ran the code again, waiting on the server and frustrated a little bit, especially since I got it wrong. And I was like, okay. So then I was like, okay, this is probably right. I mean, I was going to run it again, but the running is so slow that I just submitted and then accepted. Mistake. And that was just pending was so slow that I probably lost track. Oof. Yeah, I mean, it seems like I'm going to be, I don't know, hopefully top 20. But I really should have, well, that was just a silly mistake, to be honest. Really should not have, I mean, that was a very easy problem. I just didn't really, and also, and obviously, there are a couple of issues with timing with respect to loading up was a little hard, and loading up the problem was, I don't know, I just forgot to register, so that was not that. So that probably added like a minute to the problems. But yeah, it was just pending for like 2 minutes, waiting for the system test to come. So that added it a bit. But very unfortunate. Really had an opportunity to do well in this one. What is that? I'm on 21 minute. And right now I'm about 17 minutes in, so I have about 4 minutes of kind of seeing where people go with the timing. And this is like a really easy set, so 4 minutes is probably really long. Like this person is probably going to finish, like a couple of people will probably finish in 4 minutes. Okay, just yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit tired, but yeah, I mean, let's see. Realistically, I think 16 minutes is about right. Maybe I could have gotten it in 13, 14 minutes. So even in a good time, I probably wouldn't have been on top 10. I was a little bit slow on the Q4. That was a very standard problem that I should have gotten a little bit better or a little bit faster. But again, like on Q3 and Q4, I was waiting a lot on the system testing or just testing. That was kind of a little bit unfortunate, but you have to prepare for it. And I probably could have started Q4 a little bit early, but that was a very straightforward, very standard Q4, and I really should have gotten it without the error. Because even without the error, 16 minutes would have put me in a really good place. But now it'll probably drop me down a little bit as people are submitting and finishing. But yeah, let's go over the problem real quick. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm going to be top 50, so I'm not going to complain about it because I get Leetcode points or Leetcode coins, whatever. Minimum value to get positive step-by-step sum. Yeah, I mean, so there's definitely you could probably do some math on the min and the max, and I would recommend you, if you have time, to kind of do that, or not the max, just the min of the thing, and then you could, from the min, like this is -3, so you could probably, what? Oh, yeah, sorry. So yeah, and here you could see that the min value is 0, so you could put, well, if you start with 1, you'll see a -3, I think. And then you could do the math to kind of get 5 or something like that. So you could do some math there, and I would recommend it if you're doing it in a certain time. I was thinking that like I could have done it that way, and probably still should have done it that way. But yeah, and again, I started a little bit late. I had to take a look at the timing. I mean, it wasn't that late, but I was still like double checking how to read this, and I was spending a little bit of time debating between doing a brute force, which I end up doing, um, and doing it with math and one pass. But but basically what I did was -100 times 100, so that's going to be -10,000. I mean, this won't even hit 10,000, but or it'll hit 10,000 at most. So yeah, so that I just check 10,000 times 100. It's going to be fast enough, so that's okay. That's my logic there. Find the minimum number of Fibonacci is whose sum is k. So I took about 2 minutes on this one. Probably could have been faster. Some of the people who are better at math are probably faster. So I have about a minute left. So we'll see before my results are crunched. But yeah, find the minimum number of Fibonacci number whose sum is k. So one thing about this, it's a little bit weird and tricky in terms of, I mean, the solution is kind of greedy, but the reason why that greedy works is because the Fibonacci sequence forms a basis for which you can have a Fibonacci, I was going to say Fibonacci number, but actually but the idea is that every number can be composed of just combined by a minimal number of Fibonacci numbers, either 0 or 1 of each quote-unquote Fibonacci digit. So that's something that I knew, and I knew beforehand, and well, at some point, because another problem or something like that I've solved. But that's kind of a hard thing to like, when you didn't know that, that'll be really tricky. I don't know why I took that long. I mean, I definitely took my time a little bit. I was trying to, again, like in the other contests, I was trying to slow down and be a little deliberate. But yeah, overall, I just generate all the Fibonacci numbers up to k or bigger, and then I just subtract them from the bottom, and then counting 1 from each one. I think this would actually only execute once, but I didn't want to prove it. But I could, yeah. Maybe not actually. Maybe 4. No, 4 is 3 and 1. Okay, yeah. So yeah, and this will always terminate because if you have, for whatever reason, then you have just 1 left. It will always -1, though of course it will always -2 first, and then always -3 first Fibonacci, right? So it actually would not go that far. But yeah, so that's the Q2. Q3, the k lexicographical string of all happy strings of length n. So this one could be potentially a really hard problem. But what I noticed is that k is 100. So that means that I could generate brute force no matter what. This is or depth first search or whatever you want to call it. But this backtracking, there are a number of cleaner ways to do it. But because k is 100, this is bound by 100. And I even do a termination. You could probably just do this as bigger than k or bigger than k plus 1. But I didn't want to think about it. Didn't want to think about the worst case. And this is going to be really fast. But basically, I just try every possibility, going greedy of like going A, B, C first. And that's pretty much it. And then when I get the length n, I put it into the array, and then I just return that. And but yeah, the testing was a little bit slow, so that kind of affected my time today. But this one, it hurt a little bit more because I had to check it a few times for the empty cases, which I had a one-time error or something. I mean, again, that's on me not reading the problem correctly, but it's still a little bit slow, and I just wanted to validate. We stored the array. So this is a very standard dynamic program problem. I did think about writing it recursively with our LRU cache, but with 10 to the 5th, 100,000 is a little bit hard to do with depth first search, even with stack space, even with optimistic stack space, and each of them could go up to 10 digits or so. So yeah, so my only thing was that, yeah, I mean, I got it right pretty quickly. My only problem was the zero case, and I was very confident about it because I read it a couple of times, but I just missed the leading zero in the array part. And when I was testing that particular case, I already got, and actually, yeah. So that was kind of unfortunate for me to kind of give away 5 minutes, but overall, still not a bad problem. Uh, I mean, not a bad result. Let's see where I am at. 38th. Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, this is something that maybe I rushed a little bit, right? Because if I had not gotten that 5 minute penalty, I would have been top 20. So, so definitely, something that I should think about. But also, I should have just done this quicker. I didn't. I really just missed the leading zero part. I just didn't read it, to be frank. But yeah, 38th. So top 50, still pretty acceptable. And being by a lot of people whom has a clean sheet, like we're saying 2 minutes, 10 people submitted in the 2 minutes that from 19th minute to 21st minute, right? Uh, so yeah, so overall, could be cleaner, could be less sloppy, could be a little bit faster, but overall, not going to complain too much about it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next contest in a short while, but yeah, okay, bye bye. Also, hit the like button.